Here's something almost every crypto trader has run into. The analysis lines up, the levels look right, a stop goes on there, and then the price wicks straight through that stop, closes the position out, and turns around and goes exactly where you expected it to go in the first place. Bogdan, does that sound familiar, buddy?
Oh my God, buddy. You don't imagine how familiar it was for me. And this sometimes it still is, sometimes, but not like in the past. In the past was awful for me until I learned in the proper way.
Yeah. Hey, so you have the right idea, you have a losing result. And it's one of the most common frustrations in trading. And there's actually a structural reason that it keeps happening. So we're going to get into that tonight. Now, a quick note before we get into everything in this video is actually educational and for general information only. It's not financial advice. It's not a recommendation to buy or sell or trade anything. And always, guys, do your own research, right? And manage your own risk. So in this video, we're going to look at why this pattern happens and how a systematic rules-based approach thinks about where a stop sits. And this is about understanding the concept. We're not telling anyone what to do with their own positions. This is just a rules-based system that we've found works well for us.
Yes, buddy. And very, very important because it's happening a lot of times. Also happened to me in the past a lot of times until I learn what are the reasons. For a long time, I assume it was just bad luck, on my end.
No, exactly. And then sometimes you also feel like they're coming for me personally. You start to take it personal. You're like, why are they picking on me?
Yeah. And because of that, you start making other mistakes like revenge trading, what we discussed in the past. Because of that, you go, well, how is possible? You think somebody is watching you, on your exchange. Okay, I need to go and take that guy's stop loss.
Exactly. But what it is like when a stop gets reached right before price moves the expected way, that often points to a placement pattern that you're making rather than just bad luck. And it took me a while to recognize this. And that pattern is what the rest of this video actually unpacks and what we're going to sort of talk about. So let's get into it, mate. Let's go.
Let's go.
So there's a common observation is that a lot of the stops end up in the same sort of like handful of ideas, right? Handful of levels, right? So everyone kind of has, the same idea of where they're going to put their stop loss. And just under an obvious swing low or on a round number or just past a line of support that everyone can see. And because so many sit in these spots, those price points become obviously these concentrations of liquidity. Now, markets tend to gravitate towards these areas of liquidity, and a concentration of stops is one such area. Now, there is no need to assume anyone is targeting a specific individual, although it does feel like it. It feels like they're picking on you. It's simply that the most obvious place to put a stop is also the most crowded place where price tends to get reached, right? And that's the structural idea why these wicks happen.
Yeah, buddy. I know that. I learned the hard way, this type of things, because when I start trading, especially in crypto, I was trading only Bitcoin. And I was that guy, putting my stop losses and also my TPs round number. Exactly round number. I was looking in the beginning. I didn't know what is a lean chart. Why is that? How many traders they are putting the stop loss in that area? So I didn't know nothing related with that. And I was that guy. I told you all the time round numbers. For example, I remember last bull market when I start learning about trading and Bitcoin 32,100. This is my stop loss. Not looking on the levels, not looking on what it's behind, not looking at history. So the cleaner and more obvious a level looks, the more crowd is probably is, so that's the reason.
Yeah, man, exactly, because an obvious price point is by definition going to be like a crowded spot, right? Because everyone's looking at the same thing, and a crowded point tends to get reached more frequently. And that is the structural reason why stop outs cluster where they do. And we know the market makers' job is to make the market. Their job is to go around filling liquidity, right? Taking people's sell orders, taking people's buy orders, and creating the flow in the market. So if there's a massive cluster sitting at a certain spot, guess what? The market maker algorithm is going to come into that level and take it because that's his job. His job is to fill the market with orders and to create the liquidity. So mate, it feels like they're coming for you. We can make a few smart moves and work out, the safer methodology to control your risk, etc.
Exactly, buddy.
So the question is, like, a systematic approach tends to start with, it's not how much you're willing to lose, it is where the idea is proven to be wrong, right? That's what we should be looking at when we're talking about stop losses. It should never be how much am I willing to lose. I'm going to put my stop at $32,100. It's going because I'm going to lose $100 at that point. It should be where is the invalidation point on this trade? Like, where is it that this long idea that I have is no longer valid, right? That's the way that you should be actually looking at it to begin with as well, right? It has to be a rules-based framework that is what defines where that stop should sit. So the chart should define it, not a targeted loss amount.
Exactly, buddy. And you're talking about the percentages. Another mistake, which what I do a lot in the past, was exactly what you're saying now. Yeah, I was having in my head an idea. Okay, I need to have a position size. Yeah, that position size will be like that. But I cannot go. How much? For example, in that period of time, I was building, because I was a beginner, $1,000 position size. I didn't know nothing about 1% ratio, blah, 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 all these things. And okay, from this $1,000 position size, depends on the leverage, I was adjust my stop loss in that period of time. Yeah, because okay, if I want to lose $100 from that 1,000 position size, I need to put the stop there. But I didn't know you can adjust also the position size according with the stop loss in that period of time, and have the same position size but a wider stop loss. I didn't know that, how to calculate in this. And yeah, buddy, I was making this mistake a lot of times, buddy.
Of course, man, we've all done it. Hey, it's kind of like this rite of passage you have as a trader, but it's annoying because what we're trying to do is to eliminate those issues for everyone by sharing these learnings and these videos with everyone. So you've got to understand as well that there's a difference between placing the stop at an obvious level versus placing it at a level that actually invalidates the idea, right? An obvious level can be a psychological round number like we spoke about, but then there's also the structural location to place it. Now, there's three ways that traders actually think about this placement, as it's shown on the screen right now. There is beyond the swing point, so a structure base. So it's a stop position beyond the swing point that defines the idea. And if that level breaks, the idea is considered invalid, right? Yeah. Then you've got with a buffer. So you use the structure plus a little bit of room. So you have the same structural placement with an allowance for normal volatility. So a routine wick into that level is less likely to close the position, right? So if it's positioned beyond a support or resistance zone with a buffer, rather than at an exact visible line, you've got a greater chance of actually, surviving those points. So, you've got to allow a little bit and always constantly look left of the chart. Look for those other areas where previous reversals have happened, because you'd be surprised at how many are close by to your structural level that you like to look off. You just got to keep an eye on it, So make the buffer measurable as well. A common way to think about how much room is to reference the market's volatility rather than guessing, right? So for example, have a look at the average range of candles at the moment. You can use a tool called the average true range, right? That is one tool that traders use for this. And the idea is that the more volatile the market, you give more room to that level. The quieter the market is, the less room you give. And you can use an ATR indicator. Very, very simple.
Yes, buddy. And I think I have an example for that.
Yeah, man, go for it. If you've got an example, let's rock and roll. Let's go with it. Yeah, I'll grab this off the screen.
Yes, buddy. Look at this setup, for example. Yeah, how many people they take this type of setups? Yeah, they look at the break of structure. Yeah, they look they break the trend resistance. They have the entry. They put the stop loss exactly here. Yeah, like you can see, and I'm protected because I'm under that wick. You see some confluence, looking a little bit in the past, and you see, oh yeah, it's matching with that area, and I will be very protected. This will be a banker trade. It was a banker trend, but the problem is the stop loss wasn't in the right position. The reason I'm telling you, because people don't zoom out like properly how we need to zoom it. And if you look like that, if I zooming out a little bit, look what we have here. in this area. So if you're looking at, you have the whole picture of the trade, yeah? Exactly, come and take this type of liquidity from there, and after the push happened in the trade, and look how beautiful was playing. Yeah, beautiful with volume and everything going like that. Nice trade. Yeah. But a lot of people, they touch the stop loss and the trade going without them. And Matt, to be honest, buddy, who was that guy in the beginning?
Oh, sure.
Multiple times, buddy, multiple times.
Yeah, of course, because it helps to understand as well that the market often tests those particular levels just with wicks rather than full candle closes. And a wick into that level and then closes back out of that level is common behavior, right? And it's different because it's not your level being completely broken. It's just coming in and sweeping the liquidity and taking out those particular stops. It's a quick little job that they do. And that distinction is what you need to sort of understand, that they lie there. And if you notice, like, it swept down towards that major double bottom you had over there to the left. You know, that was a major pivot point on the high time frame for that token. So you've got to just keep zooming out, look for these possibilities, and be aware of when they can happen, particularly if you're in a time of volatility. Particularly after, you know, that token had pulled down so far, it had a bounce and a big retest to just take out those people that got in too soon. You know, good example there, buddy. Good example.
And buddy, to be honest, take me a while to understand this. Take me a while, buddy, and losing too many trades. But after I understand it, now it's a different story.
That's it, mate. That's it. So there's also the thing is that a relationship between stop and size. That's the thing that you need to also consider as well, is that people often decide, you know, a position size first, then place a stop where it keeps the loss small for that size, right? And conceptually, that lets the size determine the stop, which is part of the why stops can also end up in crowded areas, right? So you don't want to get stuck in those areas. So what we need to do is, in a systematic framework, is the thinking tends to run the other way, right? Where the stop distance comes from the structure and the allowance of the volatility, and that is defined by the chart, right? And that changes every single time. The risk is treated as a fixed concept. So it's a small percentage of your account. So position size is variable, but it connects to where your stop loss goes. So for example, in your example you showed, having a deeper stop just simply means you downsize your position size, because your stop has to be that deep because of the market tells you it needs to be there, and you just have to downsize your position size to make sure that you fall within those the risk framework that you're running, right? And allowing for that normal noise is not the idea of failing, right? You just need to allow for it and make sure that you're not oversizing and things like that. And here's a graphical representation also here, Bogdan, of what you showed on your example. You know, you got your invalidation level, you know, you put your stop loss right at your invalidation level, you get a nice little wick that pushes through, stops you out, versus the one on the right, you give yourself a little buffer zone based on the volatility, and you survive. Now, of course, your position size is smaller on the one on the right because your stop loss is deeper, but guess what? You survived the trade and you actually went on to make money, as you showed in your example. It really did move off the level nicely. So would you rather be in a smaller position size, survive the trade and end up taking profit, or go in with a bigger position size, tighter stop and getting stopped out, right? The answer's obvious. Yeah.
Exactly, buddy. Exactly. now I know, but in the past I didn't know that. And, oh, buddy, you don't imagine the how many mistakes you start making more mistakes because of that. Yeah, to be honest, I was the first that example from the left side. Yeah, because I didn't adjust the position sizes. I put very stubborn. Oh, I need to have this position size, but I was top out, and after I was top out, I saw the move going to my level, and I do other stupid mistake like reverse trading. I have a very bad entry in that PF time because I was entering again in that trade. Like, how many of us were doing this type in the beginning, and trying to recover the losses, let's say like that.
Exactly. No, and like we keep saying, man, we've been through it all. Hey, like we've been through it all in our 5 years of trading, and the first couple of years were rough, right? These are the lessons we learned, and it comes comes at a price, and we just say that they're just our fees, our cost of learning, right? We now need to, like, you got to come up with like a structural plan. Whenever you're learning anything, you've got to go take it away and come up with some kind of plan on how you can approach it to avoid that. And the great thing is what you do now is you've got the structure, so you know where the invalidation point is on your thesis. You add the buffer zone in there to allow for volatility. You make sure you zoom out adequately and look to the left and make sure that you're covered within those other areas nearby and the normal volatility. And then what you do is you downsize your position size to allow for the wider gap you've got between your entry and your stop loss area. So wider stop loss generally implies to people that their loss is going to be bigger, but that's only relevant if the size is what stays fixed in that formula. But once you put size as the variable, right, in that formula, distance and risk are then no longer related. They're actually interchangeable. So that's the thing that people have to keep in mind, that having a deeper stop does not necessarily mean you're going to take bigger risk. You don't. You take exactly the same risk.
Exactly, buddy. Exactly.
So it took me years to actually understand that. It took me years to get used to that. So here's the next thing as well. 4 concepts to think about as well, right? In one pattern. You've got the crowded levels that you know people are going to look at for stops. The stops tend to get reached at the most obvious crowded points. You've got the invalidation on your idea, which is the systematic approach that says this is where the idea is proven wrong, right? Then you've got the room for volatility. So it allows room for volatility beyond the wick. So you're giving yourself a little bit of space. And then the size is what keeps your risk constant and keeps you having more lives to go again. So you treat the position size as the variable, and that actually keeps the risk constant no matter where your entry and where your stop loss is. And understanding this framework is the pattern that can help you to survive through the stop loss. And if you still get wicked out, you've got more lives left to go because you've covered and controlled your risk at the same time, which is the important thing to remember, mate.
Yeah, buddy. That is the part that made me why stop making more sense, conceptually. Why the stop only implies a bigger loss if the size stays fixed,
Yeah, exactly. So let's bring it all together here, mate. So, stops tend to get reached at those most obvious crowded points. A systematic approach references where that would be where we can avoid that occurring on a regular basis. So by allowing for volatility, it allows room. It allows room for those wicks to do what they need to do. And then we're going to treat position size as the variable so that we can keep our risk constant, right? And that's the framework in a nutshell. It's not hard, right? You know where the normal stop losses are going to be placed. So we allow for normal volatility. We go beyond that. We know where our validation point is on our trade. We vary our stop loss, our position size accordingly. So we're still only risking whatever our risk percentage is per trade, and we're ready to go. So mate, as usual, you know what we've done? We've put together a free guide with the concepts for people. So if you guys love this video, definitely hit like, subscribe to the channel. Also, in order to get the free cheat sheet that we're offering on how to manage your stops, you can join our community using the free link in the description. That section of our community is completely free. You can jump in there, join the free community, download the free guide. Plus, there is other stuff in there. There's actually a macro dashboard terminal in there that gives you all sorts of information on the market for the day. You can actually take that for free. There's a position size calculator in there, and there's other guides. So jump in there, check it out. You'll see some news feeds from us. Every now and again, we're going to be doing a live stream with the free community as well. And then if you do love it, you can do a 7-day free trial in our premium community where we are live. How many times a day, mate? 4 times a day, 3 to 4 times a day inside that community, talking about crypto, TradFi, all sorts of educational content in there.
Exactly.
How you going, mate? You're coping in the heat.
Oh, yeah. Very hot on my side. It's cold red today, but doesn't matter. We need to be here for our community. And yeah, guys, the link is in the description. Please take advantage of our free community. You will see, you will like it. Definitely you will like it. And if you want more, like Matt says already, you have also the option to have a 7-day for free, our premium community. And please like in this video. Very important for us, and thank you for the support you're showing us. We didn't expect it, and it means for us we need to work even harder from now on and do educational stuff here, because I think this is the most important thing. Not talking about trades, talking about education.
Exactly, education. All right, buddy. Thanks, mate, for joining me. Go have a cold shower. Everyone else, stay sharp, stay disciplined, stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you, buddy. See you next time, guys.